Hi, so I'd like to share with you how to set actions. I think at this time of year, we have the incentive, we have the desire to change things in our circumstances, and it's so vital that the actions that we set ourselves are achievable and within our control. So often we set ourselves goals and aims that are within our influence, but are really hard to kind of definitely go, and that action will create that result. So if we start at the beginning, when you're thinking about what your why is, about what action you're setting for yourself, what goal or aim that you're creating, I'd like you to take a moment to just really visualize yourself having already achieved it, feeling it strongly. Just imagine yourself that it's a done deal, that it's happened, and where that feeling sits inside you. What experience does it give you? What does the vibration feel like? Where is it in your body? Where does it sit? How do you feel about yourself? Just really invoke a picture, an experience for yourself of what it is that you want to achieve. It's like, okay, if it's a financial goal, if it's a fitness goal, if it's a work goal, if it's a relationship goal, just really imagine, like, I want this because I imagine that I will feel this at the end of it. And if you can create your outcome as a short phrase that's in the present tense. So I am whole, I am abundant, I am present, I am enjoying myself, I am here, I feel present, solid, inspired. All of those feelings free. If you get to that phrase, it will really help you in when you have choices in front of you, going, okay, does this option take me closer to that feeling, or does this? I use something called open focus, which is a really useful tool to keep in mind when we are starting off on our journey. Sometimes we can write down things that we think will get us to this feeling, and actually they might, but they are not the only path. And the more that you practice the visualization, practice feeling and experiencing the result in the present tense, in the present moment, the easier it will be to imagine whether an action will take you and give you more of those feelings in the future. So open focus is that you hold in mind where it is that you want to go, but also that you keep your options open, you keep your mind open. We broaden out our viewpoints so that we can see opportunities elsewhere. Ask ourselves how as well. How is the most important question we can ask ourselves at this time. How can I approach this? How could I feel such and such today? How could I create this for myself in a week's time? Have a chat with a friend. It's all about sharing our dreams and possibilities. And actually, do you know what? The amount of times I've worked with clients and they've had a conversation with a friend or a colleague or a neighbor or whatever and said, oh, I'm working towards this, but I'm on the path to explore how I could get more of this, how I can experience more of this. And people love helping. And so much of the time we're like, oh, such and such that I know has done that. Oh, I'll pass you on. Oh, there'll be something else. So there's all this sense of, you don't know what you don't know until you start talking about it. So keeping your mind open, asking how will really, really help new paths and opportunities come your way. And there will be more ways of you being able to experience this sensation for yourself in these outcomes. I really like to ask you to treat yourself like a science experiment too. So I'm reading notes as I'm doing this as well, just so you can kind of see I'm looking down occasionally just to make sure I capture everything I want to share with you. So we can become the observer and take an objective perspective on our journey. Ask ourselves, I wonder what my brain might do or say or think if I were to be this way or do this thing. We can write a sort of hypothesis. I think this will happen. And then do a plan, a method, prepare any tools we might need. And then we do the experiment, we take the action, we be that way, we set that intention, we act from that place. And then afterwards, we reflect on how it went, what happened and what we made it mean. So having this more of an objective viewpoint on your actions will give you more information, will give you more information about what your brain tries and tells you not to do it or try and avoid it or all those things. So it's all a great sense of learning. My next tip for you is to really take responsibility for each thing that you do. If you want a greater sense of connection with others, we can ask ourselves what we want that to look like. And be aware how often we want another person to act or do something. Come back to you. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to share? Sometimes when we want something for our lives, we imagine that if such and such would just change, would be okay, be it a person or a circumstance. Invariably, if we want the change, it's up to us to do the changing, simply because that is within our control. If we want connection, we can take steps to connect with people. If we want inspiration, be inspiring. Find yourself inspiring yourself. Ask yourself how. How could I feel inspired today by myself? What feels like an inspiring action? What doesn't? Explore. Your self-awareness and your growth is the most important outcome, rather than whether you're however many pounds lighter or save more money or how many more clients you've got. If we want fun, make fun be the center of all your actions. You are far more powerful than you ever give yourself credit for. And I've talked about end time feeling in other videos, but here it is in a nutshell. So we identify how we feel right now in this moment. Then we consider how we'd like to feel in, say, 2 hours' time. It's useful to practice the shorter time periods to begin with. Then we choose to embody that feeling now and set as an intention for how we are going to be right now. We put so many conditions on how we feel, such as believing that I can only feel worthy if someone tells me so, and yet we're incredibly creative and powerful conscious beings. With practice, we can embody and feel the vibration of worthiness right now just by creating it. That's the great thing about being a conscious being. So we begin with the feeling, I am worthy, I am being worthy. Then we use that feeling as a compass for our choices for the next 2 hours. Will this bring me a feeling of worthiness or will this? And then we take those actions. Simple, yet powerful. Get really clear about whether you actually want the thing or whether you just want it. I remember being first introduced to this and I was a bit like, what? But actually, when you get clear about what you want, sometimes you realize that actually you just think you ought to want what your goal is and you don't really want it. I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to really have that outcome. I just think I should. So when we practice our visualization, it can really help us get over the hump of our comfort zone. So it's discerning whether it's just a comfort zone hump or whether it's actually like, I don't want this. So taking the action needs to get us where we want to be can be hard. Stepping outside of our comfort zone is, of course, uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good at the beginning. It feels hard. That is expected. Waiting until we feel confident, ready and prepared and more comfortable before we take action is a misnomer. The whole point of this process is that it does feel uncomfortable. But sometimes that we find that we have chosen an aim or goal or a feeling that we think we wanted, but with a little digging, we actually just thought we wanted it. We can ask ourselves, do I want this? Or do I just want to want this? There's some really, really helpful tools just to support you. So accountability and setting yourself deadlines. When we have support, our actions are much, much easier to achieve. It's essential that we put on blinkers and that we practice not comparing with others. We are only ever moving on our own lives in a direction of our own choosing. Comparing is absolutely useless and destructive. Even positively comparing, thinking that we have done better than others, is hugely unhelpful. Same coin, different side. It's just as damaging as thinking we're worse than others. Share with trusted loved ones what we're doing. Offer to reciprocate support if they have anything they'd like to achieve too. And accountability works by stating that we will do something to another person and then telling them later if you've done it or you haven't done it. Even just stating our reason for not doing it and sharing that and any learnings we have about our sense of avoidance and fear creates huge growth. So set yourself an action, tell someone you're going to do it, and then when you've done it, tell them you've done it, rather than asking for someone to encourage you to do it or ask you if you've done it. It's up to you. That's how you set powerful accountability. Being our word to ourselves is extremely powerful too. When we build a strong sense of our word to ourselves, we trust ourselves more. We can say what we mean and mean what we say. Similarly to being our word to ourselves, when we set ourselves a deadline, we then give ourselves the opportunity to acknowledge and appreciate our efforts. Halt and congratulate ourselves. Step by step, we will feel more successful when we take the time to pat ourselves on the back. So acknowledgement is really useful too. So go and enjoy setting some actions, and slow and steady is the name of the game. Small steps, overachieve is much more helpful than say I'm going to do this every single day. Say you'll do it twice, and then maybe you'll overachieve it. And once you've done it, you'll be like, yeah, I did what I said I was going to do, and I did a bit more. Really helps your confidence, really helps you do it. So set small stuff and then aim to, slowly and steadily build it up over time. Enjoy, and remember that this is about enjoying yourselves and appreciating yourselves and being kind to yourself. So this is not a stick to beat yourself with any of these actions. Be joyful and enjoy yourselves.